Yo, on this video, I'm going to talk about my biggest mistake during the holidays and might rub some of you the wrong way. Yo, what's going on? My name is Ruslan, hip-hop artist, creative entrepreneur with King's Dream, ENT.com. This channel exists to encourage, empower, inspire you to live God's dream for your life, to live your God-given potential. And we've been kind of loosely in a series called Mistake Mondays, a part of the Vlogmas overall, uploading daily all of December till Christmas. And I wanted to talk about the biggest mistake I've made over the holidays. And it's something that's pretty obvious, but I think is ultimately something we overlook that creeps up on us out of nowhere. And just so you guys know, I'm not trying to make this video to be brash or to be offensive. I'm simply stating about my own journey, but it's going to apply to a lot of different people in a lot of different walks of life, and the application of it is going to be something that challenges us, but I believe challenges us to more of God's goodness and God's purpose and just that full, abundant life that I think we're all ultimately desiring, regardless on what worldview or faith belief system we come from. So before we get into that, this Friday is a huge day for us. We are putting out a brand new project. It's King's Dream ENT from my man, the myth, the legend, John Keith is putting out an album, to be exact. His name's Honey Blonde. The album is called Honey Blonde. His name is John Keith. Y'all know what I'm saying. But listen, it comes out this Friday. I'm going to show you guys some of the merch bundles real quick. Here's what you guys need to know. Right now. The album doesn't come out till Friday, December 14th. If you're watching this after Friday, December 14th, it's all good. But if you're watching this in real time, not in real time, but like right when I'm dropping it, go pre-order the album. We have some fire bundles available on kingsdreament.com/store. And check it out. If you pre-order it right now, you'll get the album early before everybody got it. It's going to be on Apple Music and Spotify and all that kind of stuff. But if you pre-order it right now on kingsdreament.com, get a t-shirt bundle. Boom, check out the t-shirt bundles, $24 with a signed CD, t-shirt, free shipping. We have a couple different designs to choose from. These should be shipped out and available to you by Christmas. We're going to be shipping them, I think, sometime this week, probably later in the week. And so anyway, they're $24. There's a bunch of different designs. You can get a hoodie bundle for $39. Album instantly available to you as a zip file. We're going to add the instrumentals and acapellas, all that kind of stuff. So the hoodies are $39 ship. So I recommend that all you guys go pre-order this record if you want to support what we're doing at King's Dream Entertainment. That's the best way to do it, is to pre-order it. Of course, the second best way to do it is to support us on Patreon. Salute to all the Patreon that's been rocking with us. We appreciate you guys. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's just a way to support this channel by making a monthly contribution. And if you're a Patreon, you've already gotten this album a month ago. The Patreon cast already got it. They got the album. They've been rocking to it. They've been loving it. We're so excited for everybody and the love that John Keith has been getting, man. We got a couple visuals out, all that kind of stuff. So that's all in the description. Pre-order that record. I think you're going to really appreciate it. So let's get into this Mistake Monday. Now, I love the holidays. If you guys watched my video yesterday, I was wearing a Santa Claus hat. No, I don't tell my son Levi that Santa Claus is real, but you know, we do the Christmas tree thing, we do the gifts thing, we're festive people. My wife loves Christmas music. The mistake that I've made, and most people make during the holidays, because of all the marketing, all the consumerism, because of all the festivities, we naturally slide into a celebratory space, right? Into a celebratory space from the month of November through the month of December. And we tend to celebrate. When we celebrate, we tend to overeat, and we tend to overdrink, and we tend to not be as active, and we tend to just kind of slack off, right? Like, I made the mistake of just kind of overeating, celebrating too much, slacking off on the things that I know I need to be doing and the things I need to be tenacious in in this season of just like chilling. I remember I would hang out, play video games more, stay up later than I should, eat more than I should, sleep more than I should, and it would just kind of wear and tear on me. And the thing that we don't consider is the long-term consequences of it. Now, there's a verse in Proverbs, a little sleep, a little slumber, and poverty will come upon you. A little kicking your feet up, a little relaxing over time could have its compounds effects. And if you don't know what compounds effects are, it's like a snowball. A snowball starts small, and before you know it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you're in trouble. And this year, it really hit me that in terms of my health, in terms of my daily routine, I was in trouble. And it really goes back to how I viewed and approached the holiday season. So I'm gonna read some interesting facts to you. It says media sources often suggest that the average person gains 5 to 10 pounds between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And in surveys, people say they gain on average about 5 pounds this time of year. Now, I've definitely gained 7 to 10 pounds. I've probably gained 10 pounds in the holiday season, if I'm going to be honest, on certain years. But several studies show that the average weight gained during the winter holidays is just 1 pound. So who knows what the actual weight is gained, but it is something that happens to most of us. We gain anywhere between 1 to 7 pounds during the holidays on average. And like I said, I've been all the way up to 10, and I averaged out. But this is what we don't consider, is that the average American will gain about 1 pound of additional weight each year from age 25 or 35 additional pounds by the age of 60, because we typically also lose about ½ a pound of bone and muscle mass each year, unless we're physically active, of course. Then our body fat is increasing by 1.5 pounds each year. And let me just be honest with you guys. So if we're gaining on average 1.5 pounds a year, right? And like I said, I've fluctuated everywhere between that. If you compound that, meaning that if you look at it from, let's just say, 18 to 28, 1.5 pounds for 10 years is 15 pounds from 18 to 28. Now, what most people who are over the age of 25 know, if you're watching this and you're over the age of 25, you know this, your metabolism slows down. So I would say that 1.5 pounds probably increases to 2 or 3 pounds if you're not watching what you're eating and so now, between the ages of 18 to 28, you've gained 15 pounds. Not wilding out, not something that you could even really notice. Maybe you're not like morbidly obese, but you've gained that 15 pounds. And then you turn 25 and all of a sudden it increases and you're consuming more food, your body, your metabolism slowing down, and now you've gained more weight. Now you're gaining 2 to 3 pounds because your metabolism is slower. And so between, let's just say, the ages of 28 to 38, you've gained an additional 20 pounds. So it's 15 plus 20, that's 35 pounds. So someone that was walking around at 180 pounds when they were in high school, someone my height, my weight, 180 pounds in high school, or just say 175 pounds, now they're walking around at 210 pounds because they've gained 35 pounds. That's crazy. And this is where the majority of Americans tend to slip into. And for me, it's because I'm festive and it's celebratory and I'm drinking the eggnog and I'm having the cookies that my wife makes and I'm enjoying the festivities. There's more events, you're just eating Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner. It's a good time. There's other people who are hurting, who Christmas is a hard time for them. Maybe they have a loss when they miss. It's a tough time of year for them. And I don't know if either side is different. It's just we can medicate with food or we can celebrate with food. I've done both, right? And so my biggest mistake is not being aware of this. And over the course of 10, 15 years, I've gained 30 pounds. I was 175 pounds, 170 pounds when I was in high school. And before I knew it, a couple years ago, I was pushing 205 pounds. That was my story. And I think so many of us are a lot like that, where the weight just kind of creeps up. And we don't know what happened, but before we know it, we wake up a decade later and we just say, oh, it's because we're getting old. It's not because we're getting old. It's because that we're not paying attention. And I want to shift gears a little bit. Yesterday on the channel, I did a live stream about the real meaning for Christmas for us. Us meaning believers in Christ Jesus. What is the real meaning for Christmas? You should go back and watch it. This is a verse that I read yesterday that I think is an interesting one. I'm going to tie it into a very practical step to you guys just here in a second. But just follow me. Just stay with me for a moment. Romans 8, verse 16 and 17. The Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. God didn't just come to die on a cross and all that kind of stuff. He came to save, rescue, redeem, and make us his children, to adopt us as his children. And it says, verse 17, now if we are his children, then we are heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ, if indeed we share in his suffering, in order that we may also share in his glory. Not only are we just children of God, but we're also heirs with Christ, right? And then this word suffering, if we also share with the suffering. Now, I be honest, this idea of suffering really hit me recently because I've never understood it in the sense that, like, I'm a refugee, I'm an immigrant, I came from a foreign country. We were legit persecuted, kicked out of Azerbaijan, Baku, because we were Armenian Christians, and there was a religious persecution in the late 80s. It's called the Pogroms of Baku. You could research it. And I've seen some legit persecution as a baby. I remember it being trib, and you could look it up, the Pogroms of Baku. That is why me and my family immigrated here. And so I never understood why Americans would talk about suffering, like suffering with Jesus. Like, I come from a communistic country. This was right before the fall of communism. So for me, I never understood Americans talking about like persecution and suffering. Like, persecution to me as an American was like getting teased in high school because I got saved and I carried my Bible around. That ain't persecution. That's not suffering, right? And then when you look at when the gospel was written and the people writing the gospel, like, they were suffering for real. Like, they were losing their lives. Most of the early disciples who followed Jesus were martyred, except John, who was cast out to an island and died in his old age. He was the only one that wasn't martyred. All these guys were martyred. That's suffering, and I think that's the suffering that Paul is talking about. And I think very few of us living in America will experience this type of suffering. We just won't. Now, that's not to say that disease won't hit. That's not to say that you're not going to go through struggles. You're not going to go through hardships. That stuff is going to come. We know life is going to hit you, and it's going to be tough at some point. And suffering is relative to an extent. However, when we're talking about biblical suffering, we're talking about suffering of epic proportions. But I also believe that there's a different type of suffering. It's suffering towards obedience with God, towards obedience and submission towards the standards of God in our life, and towards the standards and the will and the desires that God has for us. That there's a suffering that we can experience when we have to die to certain habits, that when we have to lay down our desires, we have to lay down what we want. That is a degree of suffering. Not the same as Jesus dying on a cross, not the same as the early disciples getting persecuted and killed and martyred, but it is to some degree a level of suffering. And the reality is that we don't like suffering. We like comfort, right? We like predictability. We like to enjoy, and we like to enjoy our desserts. We like to enjoy our foods that we know we shouldn't eat. We like to sleep in. We like to be mediocre to an extent, right? We don't desire necessarily to be abnormal, and this is prevalent in the church. And again, we're gonna get a little touchy here, but for me, I've been hit with this epiphany. Ultimately, in context of this verse, if indeed we share in his suffering, in order that we may also share in his glory, that we have to choose your suffering. You have to choose your suffering, or your suffering will choose you. That you have to choose your suffering, or your suffering will choose you. And this is what I mean. I have to choose the suffering of waking up every morning at 6 a.m. when I don't want to be up at 6 a.m. and I don't want to go to the gym, and I have to suffer through that and choose that suffering. Why? So that in 30 years from now, or in 10 years from now, or in 5 years from now, I don't have heart disease, right? I have to choose the suffering of not eating what I want to eat. Why? Because I don't want to have diabetes or be pre-diabetic. And I have homies that are in their 30s that have diabetes, they're pre-diabetic, they're going through all kinds of gnarly health issues. Choose your suffering, or your suffering will choose you. Understand that it's not going to be something that's easy. It's not going to be something that you could just float through, and you ultimately have a choice. So you could coast through life. You could throw it in cruise control and autopilot. You can not pay attention to your health and wake up at 35 and all of a sudden you're overweight and you look kind of sloppy and you're not happy with your body, and how did I end up here? Because you weren't paying attention, because you weren't choosing to suffer the way Jesus chose to suffer for us. You might be working a job that you hate. You could choose to suffer and choose to put in the work and choose to hustle and build a side business, or you could wake up at 45 working a job you hate for someone that you don't like just to pay the bills. You could choose to be intentional about your finances and get out of debt and suffer through a season. Me and my wife, we suffered through a season of 18 months of paying off all of our debt. And it was hard. In 18 months, we paid off $45,000 of debt, student loans, car notes, all kinds of stuff. Or you could wake up at 45, 50 years old and be broke and have no retirement and have nothing to show for your life, financially speaking, right? Now God is good and God is sovereign, all that. And I'm not saying everybody needs to be rich and wealthy. And I'm not saying everybody needs to be in shape and fit. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that if you are in this era, if we're living in this day and age, if we're living in Western culture, if we're living in a time and space where there's so much information available to us in terms of money management, there's so much information available to us in terms of macronutrients and how to eat and how to sleep better and how to work out and how to do all these different things, that we can push through and become who God created us to be and suffer in a way that glorifies Him, so that we can be more loving, more effective, more efficient with our lives holistically. And so the biggest mistake I've made is being comfortable during the holidays, is enjoying, is living up and eating the extra dessert and eating the extra plate and having thirds and fourths. And I bubbled up, and now I'm in a place where I'm choosing to suffer and push through the end of the year and not worry about New Year's resolutions. My New Year's resolutions are right now. I'm waking up early right now. I'm reading my Bible right now. I'm going to the gym right now. I'm praying right now. I'm believing for God to do incredible things right now. I'm working hard right now in the midst of the holidays. And so hopefully that encourages you guys. That's the heart of it. Like, ultimately, I want you guys to grab hold of this, to be encouraged to choose your suffering, because it's better for you to choose it now than for it to later choose you, because you won't have control of what chooses you. You won't have control of what disease you may or may not get. You won't have control of what your finances may or may not look like. You won't have control of those neglected areas and how heavy they can creep up. And what I'm not saying is that everybody who takes care of themselves and eats doesn't have tragedy happen or doesn't get disease. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying that there are clear correlations that if you're diligent in your finances, over time, you're able to pay off your debt and build wealth. That if you're diligent in your health and fitness, that highly, highly decreases the chances of disease and cancer and all those different things. And so anyway, man, that's my thoughts on this thing. I want to hear from you guys in the comments section. Is this relatable? Is this challenging? What do you guys think? Let me know your biggest mistakes during the holidays in the comment section below. And if you're new to the channel, man, hit that subscribe button. We about to crack 6K on this joint. Appreciate y'all watching. Peace.